Senior correspondent John Miller is a former LAPD deputy commissioner. John, good to see you.
Good to be here.
I heard the lawyer describe the woman as she's a mom in a sundress, which automatically sets some interesting dynamics. So what really happened here?
This is, and I worked in the LAPD for 3 years.
I know you did.
This is a classic case of what we called contempt of cop, meaning there was no real threat to the officers at this point. This is a thing where the officer felt his authority was being challenged. He said, stay in the car. She got out of the car. He said, get back in the car. He tried to push her in the car. She pushes back. And then you see this disproportionate use of force. There were a number of other ways to handle this. One of the things that's striking here is how you see a break. Gail, the officer who's throwing her on the ground is the training officer. He's the 22-year veteran that the rookie officer with 10 months is supposed to watch this guy.
Supposed to learn from him.
And take his cues about how to be a good cop. So something's off the rails here. Here's what worked. Since the Rodney King incident, the consent decree, all of these rules are in place. So what happened is, she said, I want to make a complaint. They said, we have a use of force. They called a sergeant. The sergeant came to the scene. He took a personnel complaint against the two officers from her. He then canvassed the area for eyewitnesses, and he found the videotape at the Del Taco store and put that in the report. So the back end of the process worked fine. The question here is between the new LAPD culture, which is to be more community-oriented, and an old LAPD culture, which is a bit more authoritarian, which officers are in what end of that spectrum?
You know what I find so interesting is that everybody knows there's video cameras everywhere. So it was on the taco store, it's in the police officer's car. I'm still surprised that we get to see this kind of video because officers know they're being recorded at all times.
And that's true. Yet, that should not be the reason for good conduct.
That's right.
You shouldn't have one set of conduct when you think you're being recorded. Remember the Occupy Wall Street demo at LA City Hall? I mean, those police took untold amounts of abuse from the demonstrators and were very restrained.
And handled it well, yeah.
But of course, the whole world was watching. In a case like this, sometimes you see flashes of police officers who have a problem, show who they really are. Now, I want to underline that is a very tiny percentage of police officers, and I think what the chief did, which is that officer is going to face administrative and criminal sanctions.
I was going to ask you, what do you think is going to happen to him? Yeah.
And that sends a signal to every officer that could happen to me. The real signal here, what Charlie Beck did, by telling every captain, you're going to have to eat a piece of this. You're all going to have to play this tape at roll call, and you're all going to have to say, is that who we want to look like? Is that who we are? And demoting the captain. That's the big message here.
Let's hope lesson learned. Thank you, John Miller.